Good evening, y'all. We're getting ready to start. Thank you, my poor man.
Give you one for that.
Are we live and in person today?
Yes, you are.
Oh, you can walk away from the camera and let us know? Right now? We'll do it later. Well, welcome to the Bantucola Network show, y'all. No, wait, no, that's wrong. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. We got so many guests.
Welcome, everyone.
There you go. What Belinda at? Belinda, we need some clapping. You're our floor manager. You ready? Welcome to the Bantucola Network, y'all. We got guests from Alabama, so we try to act right. And not burnt corn, Alabama. Either from the city, Alabama, not the country, Alabama. We have to get that distinction here.
I think my favorite county on that was Connecticut. I love Connecticut sausage. Oh my gosh.
That's where I'm from.
That's the good stuff there.
Never been.
Ain't nobody asked you that name off. Thank you for sharing. So you ain't on TV, we on TV. We gonna get a check.
He ain't from never been from China.
He from where?
China.
China.
Yeah, that's right.
Spell that, because I know y'all spell some neat things in.
Ask David how to spell it. You know.
Like Utah. I tell you that story. I met a young lady in Birmingham, and so she said, "Where are you from, originally?" I said, "Oh, Arkansas." She goes, "Oh, I'm from Utah." I said, "What are you in Alabama?" Utah is UTAW.
Oh, I got
Utah, Alabama.
Did not know that.
I did not either. She was more country than I am. So we do have to do a couple of things since we are simulcasting and all that. Can you make sure your cell phones are off? You can't pay for ringtones. You can't pay for stamps. We should say after the presentation for the raffle, and the video will be available at PeopleNetwork.com, WBQP TV, Facebook Live. What else? Beyonce.com. Beyond.net. I don't know. Where else? And maybe only those post-minority chamber of commerce. Y'all welcome Brian Wire.
I've been blessed here to live here every month, so I'm very happy.
So let's welcome people here. So we like to say our first-time visitors. Who's here is our first-time visitor?
First-time visitor.
First-time visitor. Yes. Put your hands back up to be a first-time visitor. We like to call you our virgins. They call welcome our virgins here. Let's call welcome our virgins here. The FCC is not coming.
That's wrong with the verbal jazz. I don't know anything about
So what do you have going on with the chamber, Rob?
well, we've been pretty busy again. The big thing we have going on tomorrow is Bob Zell. I'm going to pass out a flyer for everyone. Bob Zell is coming kind of equity project of mine. Me and Laura are part of that. Are bringing in him as a speaker tomorrow. So he's a civil rights activist, a white gentleman whose parents were Ku Klux Klan members. He's walked on the team, got his head beat in, brain damage, PTS, and he kept fighting civil rights from white perspective. So he's coming in tomorrow to talk, he wrote a book. He also has a movie out, Son of the South, a movie based on his life. So it's really special to bring him to town tomorrow for that. Me and Lloyd, the Economic Line is going to be there helping to host him and helping to be a part of the festival tomorrow.
So where is that?
It's at the Gateway of Church off of Creighton. And it's going to be starting at 5:30, doors open at 5 o'clock. It's free event, just come in and just listen. It should be about an hour or so, and then some Q&A as needed.
And the important question is, and I'm just asking on behalf of people from Birmingham, Alabama, is there going to be food served?
There will be no food served at this one. It's just going to be a come and listen kind of event for this
I
one.
think I have another event.
There's a lot going on in town tomorrow. So a lot of events happening. So
That are serving food. I'm just saying, have a better conversation.
Lord, can you write a check for us from network?
I'm just saying.
Feedback on the next session. Thank you. I appreciate
All
that.
right. Well, speaking of food, are y'all enjoying the offerings there? Three amazing restaurants. That's one of the Dwarf Chicken. Here we have John Pierre here with 5 sisters. And all the fun with and then during the day, make sure you go to Blue Dot and get your yes. I got a Blue Dot system. My New York sister. You already know about that. And 5 Sisters is our youngest restaurant here. It's what? 12 years old? 10? That's right. Yeah, you look young. Yeah. And so this beautiful facility, we are in partnership with the Miller Square, so filled with offices, creativity, economic opportunity. So if you're looking for a great place to put your office, this is a great place to do that. And all of our partners, WBQP TV, WRNE, Pensacola News Journal, I'm going to forget somebody. That's it. The Gulf Coast Minority Chamber of Commerce.
Urban Development.
Urban Development, CDC.
Yep.
Come on, they're online.
I know, that's
I
the
just want to get
key.
your test real quick.
Look at the bill, the TV, get all the screens up there.
The Brooks team, Bridget and Larry Brooks. The Realty team, if you need a house, they are giving one away tonight. Is that right? I'm just inquiring minds. What if people from Burnt Corn, Alabama want to know if you're giving away a house tonight? We've got a banker here and a realtor. Why can we not get together? What is the problem? I think we make a big hit this year after your minute. I don't know. Well, before we bring up we're gonna give a purpose party for we got Brian and Harry Wire. You got the Bell magazine here, and on page is that?
Page number 63.
On page 63 in the corner there is Brian and Harry Wire. So get your autograph tonight before we charge you. What was this?
Oh, it was a wreath of joy event for the art gateway.
Oh, okay.
It was a nice fundraiser.
You do so many great things.
Oh my gosh.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's my thing.
Okay.
You got this time?
Now it's a good time. Come on up, Christian. You make your way up.
We know this month we had Mardi Gras going on. I know it's kind of over with now, but there were some things that I went to, a couple of floats and everything I went to. My favorite beads I had here.
There's your black, that's a good black picture.
I'm working on that.
I'm just saying,
I'll tangle up in the car. Where's the coconut? There's all kind of beads. There's a bead here from St. Patrick's bead crew that they had here. There's a bead from the crew squat. A lot of people do a lot of good things with that. I didn't get an African Kings and Queens bead bag this year. There's one from Priscus. There's Priscus King and Queen. And this is my favorite one the ones from Blue Angels. Blue Angels beads here. I'm trying.
I'm just trying to.
It's going somewhere too.
It's Black History
But then you know what?
Asking for my friends from Burnt Corn, Alabama. I'm just asking.
Robert's my friend though, so Robert used to have some beads on too. I think we can give him a little hat too.
I don't even want to imagine the way I'm looking right now.
Some of our sponsors too, Bud Light. So I have little Bud Light beads here. And there were some people, not me, but there were some people that kind of like the cannabis. So there's a cannabis beads here. They actually have a crew called Crew to Cannabis. So they have some.
I don't even ask why you put that on me, but can I have that crew other crew cannabis? For my friends who like cannabis. I'm just saying. Cox Communication, I'm just saying, y'all. I don't know. Why you give me the big beats and put around like you said, Rob got a big head?
No.
Don't answer this.
You asked a special needs thing. nice size feet for you, so I just want to make sure you appreciate it. But one of the things about this Mardi Gras is kind of interesting. I never been to Mardi Gras very much. I lived here all my life. I never really been very often. And recently I got involved in Fiesta last year. And Fiesta now, we have created a multicultural committee. A committee that's going to be in place to help show multicultural things in Pensacola. And one of our goals we have in place is bring back the General Captain James crew. So the crew's coming back again. We're doing it this year. The goal is to be in the parade next year for Mardi Gras with the crew of General Captain James. So we're going to make that kind of announcement. Again. It'll be probably the first truly multicultural diverse crew that's part of one of the Mardi Gras. I mean,
I'm not gonna ask how long Mardi Gras has been around and y'all just doing multicultural. I'm not gonna ask that
but
question.
General Captain James, the crew was in place in 2005-ish, and it went away. But we're bringing it back again. We're having it be diverse for all different types of people, which other crews are too. This is an emphasis toward showing the multicultural history of Pensacola. So I'll definitely give you some more dates throughout the year. That's one of the reasons I want to have the beats on, saying that you're trying to make it a very diverse event. That's one of our goals as a chamber about that.
We'll get big balls like this. In my head, that came out different.
It really did come out.
I don't know what to call these.
In your head versus what it came out was definitely different. That was not this,
Very
different. I'm just stepping away and just listening, right?
Thank you so much, Brian. It's good to see you in the parade, but you made out better than I did on your
So we're gonna give spotlight, the sponsor spotlight here. Kristen is, as you either may or may not know, with Cops. Can I take the head off, Brian?
Sure you can,
You gonna make a donation to Truth for You. I keep the song. We on TV and oh my Lord. For every minute we wait, you gotta make a $10 donation to Truth for You. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Lord have mercy. So, Christian Longley is, what is your title with Cops? Public Affairs Director with Cops Communication here, and is the chair, chair of the board for Impact 100. You know about Impact 100, you'll tell me yes. That has been the largest impact group across the nation that is advocating for women in philanthropy to give back to nonprofits. And so they are having their a mad dash, as she said, for their opening. So I'm gonna let her explain that, and then I want her to talk about the other end, giving the money away.
Very good. Thank you, Robin. Thank you all for letting us share a little bit about Impact 100. As Robin mentioned, we are the largest Impact 100 organization in the world, right here in Little Bantucola. So we get really excited about that. But more important than that is we're celebrating our 20th year this year. And what's really important is that we've given away over $15 million in grants, transformative grants to nonprofit organizations right here in Escambia and Santa Rosa County over the last 19 years. So we're very proud of that. I want to wave to my Impact sisters, Bridget, Susan, and others. Thank you for being here. But it's an organization that is dedicated to giving back to our community in 5 different focus areas, and 100% of the membership funds go to transformative grants. And that's a really big deal, just because there's some organizations that, have an administrative fee or anything like that. We're all volunteer board, all volunteer members, and we want to make a difference.
And so the idea is to for each woman to provide $1,000 as a gift, and then you put that money together. And last year you did $1 million.
$1.1 million.
$1 million. That makes a big impact. And so you're running to the
March 1st is
March
our
1st.
membership deadline. Women 18 and older, we'd love for you to take a look at our website and get more information. March 1st is next Wednesday, so we're definitely, I think the whole February being short kind of snuck up on us a little bit. And now that it was 80 today, we're like, whoa, it's spring, right? Yeah. So we're really excited about that, especially this year with our 20th anniversary. We have a lot of celebrations related to that, but really more always the focus of transformative grants for nonprofits.
And then you said you're gonna have a special guest April 20th?
So April 20th is our nonprofit workshop. It will be at Brownsville Community Center, and we'll have all of the different nonprofit organizations come in, and we present a training, we have a speaker, we walk them through the grant application, and then the letter of intent, if nonprofits intend to apply for a grant, that's due at the end of April too. So all of that is spelled out on the website. There's a lot of great detail, but more importantly, there's 142 different grants that have been given out since our inception, and you can see summaries of each of those. And really, we call that the impact of impact. Once an organization has received an impact grant, or even if they're still in the application process, there's a lot of people that become familiar with their organization.
And so you said you're gonna have a special guest speaker April 20th, you can remember, but is it Denzel?
I don't know if he's as focused on nonprofit workshop, but we'll keep.
What do you like the Boys and Girls Club?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm saying, so I'll take one question here.
Yes, I was gonna ask,
Stand up so your voice will never microphone.
are you all still the biggest impact chapter? And the ladies that joined, do they have to pay $1,000 at once, or do they pay monthly? Yeah, those are my questions.
Both really good questions. Thank you so much. So his question was, are we still the largest chapter here in Pensacola? And yes, thankfully, we are the largest chapter in the world. There are over 68 different chapters, or organizations is really what we refer to them. The global founder was here November 3rd, and she did a live stream to all the different countries that have chapters. And so that was great that she was able to focus on the Pensacola chapter for her 20th anniversary. And then his other question was around membership. So our membership is once a year, we like to have the deadline of March 1st to collect membership dollars, which is $1,000. And the reason for that is really so we know how many grants we're going to be giving out. So we announced that March 21st, and our hope is that we can always give out more grants, and that's why we continue to focus on growing. And truly, if you hear some of the inspirational stories from nonprofits that have been recipients, I think a lot of women would get as excited about it as we do. So I encourage you, if you have questions or you're interested, be sure to reach out to Bridget or Susan or any of us that have been involved in it. Larry, I'm sure you know a lot about it too.
All right, let's give them the website and then,
impact100pensacola.org. And happy to be here. Thank you so much for
and so Kristen will be around afterwards as well, so that you can be heard. Please join me and thank you. She'll be around afterwards. What time is it? Something.
The nonprofit workshop. The nonprofit workshop is, I think, 9 to noon, but the specific details are on our website. And then if you're a nonprofit organization and you're in our database, you'll get emails on that. But if you're not,
Don't give her the microphone, we gotta go. Come
okay.
on.
If you're not in our database, I encourage you to reach out. There's an info at or Graham's website.
I'm gonna get in trouble here. So thank you, Kristen. I always tease her. Impact Pensacola, impact100pensacola.org for all that information. And they do feed you at their workshops. I'm just saying, they do feed you. All right, well, let's give away a door prize so we can get our special guests up here. Oh, well, we have two then. We have two courtesy of Rita Milton's grandbaby, the other pink bag there. This is, if you gave up this to Lynn, it's your problem, so. Wait, some milk chocolate candy, I'm giving up processed sugar for Lynn. Rita, where's Rita? Rita's one of our volunteers. Rita, come on up and give away two. Brian, will you pull up there? Oh, okay. Pull one more.
Carrie, with a delivery tab.
Deliverance Tabernacle. Here. Oh, okay, come on up. Come on up. Rita, come on up and get a picture with them, please.
And the last one was Stephanie Tucker. Stephanie Tucker.
Get a picture with y'all. And Stephanie won.
Stephanie won, by Elizabeth Eckford, dealing with the worst first aid. She came and spoke here recently, and you had a book that was part of the book that was wrote about her life.
Get a picture with two of y'all here. We're stepping all in front of the table. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, let's do that one after. That is a special anonymous gift. A signed gift from a television show. So we're gonna do that one after with our video. All right, Sydney, I'm gonna have you come on up. Did I miss anything? We all good?
We're good.
I've never seen a production like this before.
Is that just going through it?
Sydney's like, oh, I was coming to the Oprah show.
I should put your glasses on.
You're coming to the Oprah show. The other show.
I'm welcoming them as the first time visitors. He's the featured speaker.
She's a paid audience, don't worry about it. She is a great advocate for the program. Geraldine is a great advocate for the program. That G, and Miss G, that's right, that's right. All right, y'all ready? So welcome to the Bantucola Network Show. As they say, that's all right for me. But we got the money man in town today, so welcome to the Bantucola Network. You gonna cross the Mobile River again, come on here?
Now, this is a little hype, but no, we're hoping to be here on a regular basis. We want to make permanent residents over here in Bantucola.
Well, I know who's real that you can do. So I am excited to have Sydney King, who is the president and CEO of Commonwealth National Bank in Mobile. We're so excited to have him as our special guest. And as a lead into this, we're talking about real access in banking. I want to share something about that was written about banking. It says the object of the association shall be to give its members an opportunity to acquire in an easy manner by weekly or monthly installments or assessments a capital for the purchase or building of a home or other property to engage in business or invest their savings in a secure manner at good interest, also to encourage and foster the idea of economy as a means of financial security. That was written in 1891 here in what we think was the first black bank in Pensacola.
Okay.
Followed not too long by the Penny Bank, which was in Alabama. So to me, that sets a really good foundation about access. And if you don't have access, then you can go out and get it or make do yourself. So please join me in welcoming Sydney King with Commonwealth National Bank. So the first question, you're a banker, you're an accountant. Do you remember your first 50 cents?
My first 50 cents. I got my first job at Jewel Food Stores in Chicago, and I remember when I got that job, my mother took me to apply, and she said, you know, you don't have to take this job. I was 16 years old. She said, you don't have to take this job because one day you're going to have to work the rest of your life. I've been trying to prove her wrong ever since, but you're right.
What about that first 50 cents? What did you do with your first paycheck?
Oh, that first, when I got my first paycheck of $35.
For a week?
I get $1.70 an hour, big time.
Rolling in the deep, huh?
And I remember when I got that $35 check, you know, my father would give us an allowance. You know, we had certain chores to do around the house. My brother had a job. He was supposed to empty the dish rack. My sister was supposed to clean the table, and I had to wash the dishes. If they didn't do their job, I couldn't do mine. So in order to sit down and watch the TV show, catch Perry Mason and, you know, the shows that were coming on back in the day, I had to do their job. My father was a visionary. He noticed that. Now we would get an allowance, and they got $1. I got $5. Now
Any
$5,
college already.
$5. Back then, it cost you, you know, with $1, you could go to the movies, get popcorn, candy, and a drink,
For $1.
and have a dime left over.
This was not in 1891, right?
You can see from the snow.
Movie, yeah, I'm following you. Movie, a drink,
Popcorn, and candy.
And have a dime left over.
Lemonade.
Oh, yeah, the sour candy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But you know, I'm so sweet, I had a little bit of sour.
I want you to introduce your wife too, before you go down telling these tales too much.
This is Diane King, I'm better, 2/3. We celebrated 56 years of marriage in December. But 23 around there,
Teamwork makes the dream work. So your father, your parents laid this foundation for equity and hard work. What made you think about because you're trained as an accountant? What made you think about taking that track? This is still elementary school, middle school. What made you think about that track into numbers?
Well, I was sharing with Mr. Todd earlier today. I wanted to be an architect. That was my goal, to be an architect, because we would sit there and watch the Brady Bunch, and, you know, he was an architect.
Oh, yeah.
My father was a stonemason. He would bring those blueprints home and spread them across the dining room table. And so I had that idea of being an architect. Then I wanted to be a lawyer. I kind of forgot the architect thing. I wanted to be a lawyer, and my counselor said, major in something you can use after 4 years, just in case. You know, I was, you know, political science, pre-law back in the day. If you had that degree, all you could do is go to law school because you weren't qualified for anything. And so he said, you're good at numbers, major in something like accounting. So I majored in accounting, got a degree in accounting. In my senior year, I met this young freshman and realized I needed to start preparing myself to run a household. I can always go back to law school, but I needed to prepare myself because I didn't want it to get away.
What's that song? You got me with the pill. I'm just saying.
But so I majored in accounting, got a degree in accounting, you know, went to school, worked for public accounting for about 5 years, got my CPA during that time. And then I decided I was tired of getting up from the Christmas dinner table telling my family I'll see them in May. That was the tax season. And so I thought about going into corporate America as a CFO, corporate treasurer. And the primary thing that a corporate treasurer CFO does is deals with the outside finances of the corporation. Primary source of outside financing is banking. So I got this brilliant idea to go into banking for a couple of years, get a little cash management experience, so I know what the bankers were looking for on the other side of the table when I'm meeting with them. Got in banking and they kept promoting me, so 40 plus years later, still there.
Was that in Chicago still?
That started in Chicago, yes. Started in Chicago, got my public accounting degree there, Paul University is where I got my accounting degree. Worked in public accounting. My first bank presidency opportunity came in Jackson, Mississippi, which happened to be where I was born. So going back home to be the president of the first Black bank in Jackson, Mississippi, this was back in '94. The first Black bank since '29. You know, so we came in, we worked with that bank, we turned it around, got it growing well. Then came to Mobile as president and CEO of Commonwealth National Bank. Board chairman back in 2008 had a different vision than mine. And I had a choice either to buy into his vision or leave. I couldn't buy into his vision. So I ended up in Kansas City for 12 years. The reason I couldn't buy into his vision, I didn't think it would work, and clearly it failed. So they recruited me back. I've been back for 2 years. We cleaned up the mess that he left, and we're ready to grow and rebuild our brand. One of my visions back in '08 was to expand to Pensacola.
So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna
Okay.
talk, but I wanna go back to Commonwealth, because Commonwealth is, and I think it's always been well known, is the only, at least in this region, only African-American owned and African-American focused
Yes.
bank, since 1976. And tell us about the start of that, what was around, in that time, because you mentioned in Jackson that since 1929, because we didn't see this bevy of, in fact, we'll talk about that, we've lost a lot of African-American banks.
Yes.
So what was around that, was it the Cooper family?
The Cooper family was part of it. General Cooper, Gary Cooper, who was a two-star Marine general. He was actually the second African-American Marine general in the Marine Corps. Now, I'll tell you something about him. You know, I worked for him, not being military. I did not go to the service. And I came in as president of the bank, and, you know, General would make suggestions. I wasn't military. I took it as a suggestion. And one day he said, "Why are you so stubborn? Didn't we talk about this?" Well, when I started working for him, I had black hair.
Sound like a Barack Obama story here.
2 years later, he turned me white.
What did they see, the general and others who started that bank, what did they see there? Or that was not there?
Well, the challenge was in the African-American community, banking was a challenge. You know, a lot of the big banks did not allow us. The general made the statement that he wanted to start a bank, but he could go to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
He went to the big bank, he wanted to use the bathroom, and they said no.
In 1976.
In 1975, 74. So they wanted to start a bank where the community could benefit from it by having job opportunities, financial opportunities, growth opportunities. And, you know, they started in 76. We are now, you know, next year, actually February 19th, so we just celebrated our good 46th anniversary.
Amazing.
My math might be off a little bit there. But
Go ahead.
it's somewhere.
So you were interviewed on NPR in July of 2020, and so thinking of that journey from 1976, and the quote that was noted that Black-owned banks are shrinking part of the financial system, that now there are only 21 of them in the United States. Now, this is in 2020, so I don't know if that number has changed. A decade ago, again, so that would have been 2010, there were 36 with the collective control of $4.8 billion, and the quote is just $4.8 billion. And there you cited the murder of George Floyd as this sort of spark that changed a lot of that. What changed?
A lot of people started to open up their eyes to look at the African-American community. A lot of the bigger corporations put capital in some of the minority banks. That put in a position that we've never had the kind of capital that we had, you know, before. Commonwealth is one of 14 Black-owned and operated commercial banks left in America today. That number has shrunk even further.
So from 21 just 2 years ago to now 14.
Now, that 21 included minority-controlled and minority-led banks.
Okay.
So some of the institutions that are supporting minority communities that have African-American leadership, but does not have African-American ownership anymore.
Okay.
So they don't have a 51% African-American ownership. So there are only 13 or 14 true African-American owned and operated commercial banks left in America. Commonwealth is one of those.
Okay.
And, you know, the Liberty Bank out of New Orleans became the first billion-dollar African-American bank last year in 2022. Now, if you contrast that,
Sorry, yeah.
if you contrast that to the largest Hispanic American bank, last year was about $68 billion. That's just for one institution. The largest Asian American bank was about $60 billion. And we just got $1 billion Black-owned bank. The challenge is that, you know, we have desires, but the support is not always there. And you were mentioning with the George Floyd movement, the change that took place is we did not have access to capital. You know, when Commonwealth was started, they were told to raise $1 million in capital. They could only raise $750,000, but they were given the opportunity to open with just that $750,000. We've grown that now to where our capital base is about $7 million. But that's because of the George Floyd movement. We were able to get about $2.5 million from that movement that took place. Now, some of the banks got a whole lot more. We were on the lower tier of that.
So which begs the question, does it take a tragedy? So two parts, does it take a tragedy to make that sort of turn? And then what is the sustainability of that? So is that investment going to continue, or is it gonna take, and it's hard for me to say, is it gonna take another tragedy for the light to shine on the goodness of African American owned assets?
Yeah, I think the challenge at this point is, you know, we hopefully will not have to see another tragedy like that. That did, you know, unfortunately, circumstances, but it did create some opportunities that put capital in the banks. And we've got more capital now than we've ever had. Now it's up to us. We've got to utilize that properly and make it grow and be sustainable. And we're making that happen at Commonwealth. You know, the challenge with a lot of our Black-owned banks, like in Black-owned businesses in general, you look at Black contractors. They can do the work. They don't have the resources to carry the job for 45 to 60 days to get to that payout. They got to pay their people every week. They need the capital in order to do that. So they can't bid on the bigger jobs. And they can't carry the bigger jobs because they just don't have the resources. That's where the Black banks work. We just did not have the resources to grow and do the kind of things that we want to do and would like to do. The example at Commonwealth, our lending limit, we were about $750,000 was the biggest loan we could do. Today, with the capital, we can do $1.2 million. That's still a small loan in today's environment, but we're growing. And through our sister banks, the other minority banks, through the National Bankers Association, we can put together, actually we did a $34 million deal for the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh,
You know, so we can pull together and do those bigger deals. And we're starting to work together as a group, as a unit, to do more for our community. With a focus on the mission-driven services that we were creating.
So even if you are not providing the capital for that, in this case of like the Atlanta Hawks, then you still get revenue from the fee in constructing that deal.
Yeah, our portion of that loan, we get the interest income on.
So until then, so this trend until you had this conversation July of 2020, just a couple months after George Floyd murder. And so then you said the capital has increased, but the numbers of banks have decreased.
Well, the numbers of banks have decreased. This was, you know, there were several banks that were struggling at that point.
Even before
that, and there are a few of them that have failed. But others have been acquired by other banks, like Liberty Bank. I left Commonwealth in 2008 and went to, went to Kansas City to manage their Kansas City operation. I was there until I was recruited back to Commonwealth in 2020. But Liberty is the largest African American bank, and they've done a lot of that through acquisition. So we're fortunate where a lot of our troubled institutions got into more trouble, and instead of failing and going to a majority bank and losing the minority status, Liberty was able to make those acquisitions, and now they're in 10 different markets around the country.
and retaining their
Minority status, retaining the franchise. And so we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so you mentioned so our conversation is about the real access, and I want to continue to move towards that, but you talked about it in terms of businesses, and so while $1 million investment is a great thing, there still appears to be this wealth gap, and we know from data, from real world experience, that houses are one of the number one ways that people in general, that generational wealth, and so you pass that down. But when you see things, and I'm sure Bridget and Larry and some of the other real estate professionals can attest to this, that oftentimes you still see a discrepancy even in the housing value. So you may pay the same, but when it comes time to spend in the news, you sell a house and you know, African American person owns it, it may be 10, 20, 30% lower value than if a white person had that same house, so that wealth gap just continues. So how is that gap, how do banks help to both widen that gap, and then how do banks help to close that gap?
I would recommend if you have not read the book, The Color of Money, it kind of talks about that, and the growth in black-owned, or the lack of growth in black-owned banks, and in our communities, how we were not given access to housing, loans. FHA loans they had it in their law, but they could not finance a black-owned family.
That was what was the term redlining that you often hear.
That's where the redlining came from. They took certain areas and said, this is a red area, which is typically a minority area, and the green area is where they wanted to land. They could not land in black or redlined areas, which contain mostly African-American individuals. And that book is a great book. If you haven't read it, it gives a lot of history about the situations of banking. We don't own a lot of businesses, and in most black businesses, it's just the individual. We don't have the job-producing businesses. That's what we got to get back to. Develop those job-producing businesses that used to line the main streets that go through most black communities in our country. I understand this was one of the Black Wall Street of Pensacola. In Mobile, it was Davis Avenue. Kansas City was Fifth Street. Those streets are now deserted. Those jobs are all gone because people went to the malls and then to now it's online. But we've got to get back to where we're creating job-producing businesses that go through our communities, that hire our youth. Because if we want to see job growth and we want to see generational wealth, we got to start finding ways to, again, you were mentioning home ownership.
Yeah.
There's so much equity that is created in home ownership. We've got to get back to where we can have more homes. Because even today, a white high school dropout has a greater home ownership percentage than a black college graduate. Those numbers have to change. And as you mentioned, the redlining is still around. It's disguised a little bit, but it still exists. But we've got to start looking beyond that, looking at institutions or institutions that will support us, because there are lending opportunities. I like to say there is no shortage of money, just lack of knowledge on how to get it. We've got to look for those ways to get access to financing, access to capital, and not give up.
And I think, in fact, one of the interviews I read about you talked about that it's, this may be an older interview, that African-American owned banks provide 67% of, and I think maybe a little bit off on the number, 67% of mortgages, whereas a predominantly white owned bank may do less than 1%.
If you look at the larger institutions, the larger banks in the area, and you look at the number of mortgages they are providing for African Americans, the study was done, showed less than 1% of mortgages for your major banks are done to African Americans or made to African Americans. Whereas our bank were created to serve African American communities, and we provide we focus on that. Now we are a bank for all people. Our money is green.
Yeah.
So we are a bank for all people, but we focus on serving historically underserved communities that we were created to serve.
To go to the bathroom.
So you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
No cameras in there.
No. So let's go to the heart of this question. What does real access in banking look like? What do you, when someone says Commonwealth, Sidney King, your staff, I know we have a staff member here.
Both ways over here.
Did you bring your checkbook? That's Vern Watson. that we were in lunch today earlier.
Last name White.
Huh?
Last name White.
Watson, but does it need to be white for you to give a check? I'm just asking. I don't mean him be white. I mean the last name white. Clear that up.
Now, the only other white is Mrs. White.
Oh, that's the white guy. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. So what does real access look like?
Real access is, you have a goal, you have a dream, you have a desire to do something. And having real access is having the resources in order to make that dream a reality. And the challenge that we see a lot of times, people have ideas, they have great ideas, But it takes a little effort, a little work sometimes to make sure that that can debt service. Because people say banks only lend money to people who have money. That's not a true statement. We lend money to people who show us that they have the ability to pay us back. We're not a grant, you know. So you put the effort in, you put the work in to show that. I mean, people have great ideas, but they really haven't thought them through. I was just talking to someone yesterday. He's an exterminator business. Some of his people that they're good processors. They're good at going out and doing the work, and they want to go out and start the business for themselves. They don't have the backroom operation. They don't have the infrastructure. When they're out doing the paperwork, they're not out doing what's generating income for the company. You know, you got to put the marketing efforts in. There's a lot about business development than just doing the work. And a lot of businesses, we got to get to the point where we're getting the information on what needs to be done and utilizing the resources. There are small business development centers around. If you got a business idea, go talk to someone at those small business development centers, or you can come and talk to us at Bankers, because Bankers are some of the smartest people you'll ever meet.
I think we should hold for a pause there, bro. I think you got that one. I think you got your G over here. G is only my clap.
Usually there's a banker in the room that will agree with me. But the reason I say that,
But remember, you already said we went from 21 to 13, so we already.
but the reason I say that is we see so many business opportunities, so many business ideas, so many business plans. We may be able to help you with some of the pitfalls you may be able to avoid, or we may have some ideas that you haven't thought about that can benefit your business. So in that respect, you know, we've seen a lot of ideas, we've seen a lot of deals. Talk to the banker, and I like to say date the banker.
Nobody clapping either, they just want the money. They like Mr. White over here, your last name White, versus show me the money.
Yes,
Yeah.
no,
But let's go to building a relationship.
It's building a relationship. You know, if you're married, you know, you met your spouse. You didn't go to the spouse and say, hey, let's get married. You got to know them. They got to know you. Banking is the same way. Develop that relationship with the banker, because banking is a relationship business. We as a people have not really developed those relationships. So when we get in a difficult moment, we don't have the kind of grace and favor that the other individuals may have because they're known.
So let me push back on that from a consumer perspective, where you have technology and how technology has really influenced banking. When you go into banks now, number one, you know, it used to be banks wanted you, they thought, what's wrong if we have an empty lobby? Now, you know, so we want people to come in. Now it's like, you know, they push you, they don't want you to lobby, they push you to ATM online banking. So what is that gap when you have technology advancing banking on the other side, and you're telling folk, black folk, brown folk, to establish those relationships when someone doesn't want you to come in? We didn't even get back to your bathroom point, just getting into the door. We don't necessarily just want you to come in.
I think it's the wrong bank.
That's right.
See, you need the bank that you don't have lost in the crowd.
Is that y'all's tagline? Because if not,
I'm
somebody
working
need
on
to
that.
hashtag that, I'm just saying.
I'm working on that. But, you know, it's a bank where you don't get lost in the crowd, because in most banks, you just don't. Commonwealth, you know, we treat our customers as family. You know, we have customers come in, the tellers will greet, I call them transaction specialists, will greet the customers many times by name. You know, they assist them with their, you know, their services. And we try to develop that family relationship, family-oriented relationship. You know, and that's what it's all about. You know, serving our customers, supporting our customers, because in a lot of our community, people on the first and third of the month, you know, the old-fashioned customers, they want to come in and go to the bank, and that's their social hour, you know, because that's what they've been accustomed to. We don't discourage our customers from coming into the bank. We try to work with our customers and support our customers. You know, electronic banking, you know, if you don't have it available, a lot of the younger folks just aren't going to do business with it. You know, they want to do business with their phone. They don't want to come into the bank. You you know, so you gotta be able to support both customers both ways.
So in a practical manner, then what does that look like for either, let's go on the business side, a business who's already established, who may not be looking for capital, a huge infusion of capital, but looking at ways to increase their revenue without perhaps, and I know this is antithetical to what you're saying, taking out a loan. So is that the right time to do that? Or is that a good time to do that, or is it when you have that need?
It's still a good time to come in and talk to the banker and develop a relationship. As I was saying earlier, having that relationship when, you know, when things get tough. Like I have a customer, hey, I got a bill I gotta pay, you know, can you allow me to leave, to overdraw this account, you know, a couple $1,000, you know, and I have the money in on Friday. Got a relationship, not a problem. Come in, you know, hey, I've got some money coming in, but I have it on Friday, can you cover this check for me? I don't know you.
No, that's right.
You know, I don't know you, so I don't know how you work, I don't have a relationship with you. And we see it often where people will come in and open an account, get a checkbook, and they'll start writing checks. If you get this supposed to put money in. So in that
It's a
scenario.
different kind of relationship.
I had a customer recently, you know, he put a check in the bank, it bounced. And he said, you know, it was dated 6 months ago, so they had a wrong date on it. But he's gonna bring another check, get another account in, and he's going to make this payment through his bill payment. I don't know you. Can't do that. But if I've got that relationship, we're gonna work with our customers. We're gonna help them fulfill their business needs and help them grow their businesses. You know, no more do we have those handlebar mustaches. We don't want to take your property. We don't want your cars. We don't want your houses. We just want you to pay us back on time.
So, okay, so I'm gonna put his number out, 1-800-SYDNEY, I'm just saying.
251-476-5938.
1-800-SYDNEY just flies.
No,
That's not it.
1-800-SYDNEY-1.
You gotta put something down.
Numbers, man.
That's right. I'm failing at this. So let's continue on that track. What else does real access look like in terms of, you said that you partnered with banks. So these banks came to you and said, we want to make an infusion of cash to you, and with the hope in my mind that then that trickles down
Well,
or around.
they didn't necessarily come to us, and they made an announcement that we are going to make this $50 million available for minority banks. You know, we're gonna make this $50 million investment in minority banks. And most of them, that was as far as it went. They made that announcement, they got their kudos, and they were done. Others, they went to the top tier minority banks, and they made capital investments in them. They did not come to the lower tier. And we pursued some, and we were fortunate to get 2 banks to make an investment in us. You know, and we appreciate them, and
So you're saying you have the same issue that black businesses have?
we do. We do.
Because you're a black business.
We are a black business, and you know, somebody asked me, what was the biggest challenge that you have being a black-owned bank or a black bank? The fact that it has to be a black bank. You know, why can't we just be a bank? You know, why am I the president of the black bank or the black bank president? Why can't I just be the bank president? You know, and the connotation that goes with that. You know, but we do things the right way. We support our customers, and we have diversity in our state. You know, we preach diversity. We go to businesses, you know, about diversifying their deposit base. We have diversity in our staff.
That's why we have G sitting right around here. So people, we have diversity. So will this, in terms of access, will this, and going back to the George Floyd murders, is this as you talked about, on paper? Is this just on paper, or do you see that it is a literal sign of the times where that this trend will continue? Even if we decrease, unfortunately, in the number of physical banks, will the access of the banks increase?
We feel that the assets are going to continue to increase. We're going to see some great growth for our banks and for our communities. You know, our goal at Commonwealth is to make wealth common in the African American community.
All right.
Strategy, I'm working on that. But you know, the access to banking is critical. I mean, with this George Floyd movement and the access and resources that we were able to obtain, it has helped our organizations to do more than we have ever been able to do before. As I mentioned, our lending limit increased from 750,000 to 1 million. You know, that gives us resources to do more in our community. Last year, we did about $7 million in new loan production. 74% of that was to African Americans. You know, so we are growing and supporting our community and making a difference in the community that we were created to serve by providing access to capital. We developed a program with the city that we're working to provide funding for minority contractors that are going to be working on the airport project in Mobile. They're doing the new airport project because there should be millionaires, Black millionaires coming out of that project. We've had discussions up in Birmingham about that same project. We call it the Legacy Fund. We're talking to the mayor of Birmingham, of Montgomery, about.
Pensacola's closer to than Birmingham. I'm just saying, you know, as we profile, we're closer.
Yeah, I mean, we are open to addressing and discussing those in Pensacola because, like I said, back in 2008, before I had to make that decision, you know, to market my services elsewhere, my vision was to be in Pensacola. I came over to Pensacola, my wife and I came over for dinner, and I was at the restaurant, and the lady said, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from? And we had this TV commercial that led over here into Pensacola. And she said, she came back and said, now I remember you're the man with the kiss. No, we had a commercial, and the commercial was where we had our free at last free checking account. Free at last, checking is free, that's the end. Now, that unfortunately, through some government interventions, we don't have those free checking accounts anymore. But with that commercial, we talked about the different components of the free at last free checking account. And I came back at the end and said, so open your free at last free checking account today. Our friendly staff will greet you with a smile and give you a kiss on the way out. I was holding up a little Hershey's kiss. So when she said, you're the man with the kiss, where's my kiss? I told her, it's a little warm outside, but melt in the car, so you gotta come to the bank and get it. Unfortunately, with the Me Too movement, we can't use that commercial.
Just holding it arm's length, here we are. So I'll end with this because we do want to open it up for questions. So I asked you, what does real access look like to you? What does real access feel like?
You know, it would be a great feeling to see communities grow, businesses thrive, job-producing businesses that line the main streets that go through our community, and building that next Black Wall Street along the Gulf Coast here. That would be access, you know, having full access to capital, to credit, to me, because those businesses would create jobs that would hire the inner city youth. You know, a Black-owned business hires at least typically 75 to 80% of their employees are Black. A majority-owned business in a majority community or majority-owned business in general hires 15 to 25% of their employees that are Black. So a Black-owned business has a 75%, you know, higher rate, which would give us a greater job opportunities for our youth. And we give them, you know, training, growth, development, and off the street. And that also can create generational wealth, because one of the things I've been advocating for, I call it my gas program, having a goal of supporting 10 Black-owned service providers. And how many of you can name 10 Black-owned service providers that you support? Most people can't. You obtain or achieve that 10 Black service providers, and it's sustained. If Maggie Anderson in the book, my Black Year, where she tried to spend all of her money and with Black-owned businesses for an entire year. She said, you know, typically the Black-owned businesses spend 2% of their earnings with Black-owned businesses. If we could increase that to 10%, we create 1 million jobs. And most of those jobs would be in the Black community. So we've got to support Black-owned businesses and help them change, you know, grow and sustain. Now, the other thing, when you have a challenge with a Black-owned business. What happens many times is we leave. And we tell everybody how bad that experience was. Instead of telling the owner that you had a challenge, they have an opportunity to fix it. You disappear, they never know what happened to you. And that business changes, that practice never changes. But if we can start sharing that information, talking to those businesses, helping them grow and develop so they can better service us, and then supporting them and growing, we will see a change in our community. You know, we will have those $1 billion Black-owned banks throughout our country, not just two. I think citizens may have just achieved that issue. So we've got to work to grow our banks, grow our footprint, and grow our market, and grow our futures.
So Real Assets feels like the kids.
Yeah. You know, come in and get your kids from Cumberland.
Please join me and thank you. I want to open it up for questions.
This is where it really gets fun.
And please introduce again, Mr. White, or stand up so everybody can see you there.
These are commercial lenders. You know, Bo is working with Rodney Jackson, which is an unfortunate situation. We were talking with him about, a while back about coming over into the Bantucola market. Things kind of, this late, slowed down for a minute after his departure, which was sad. But we're really ready to pick it back up now and see our footprint expand over here into Bantucola. It is in our strategic plan.
Hand over here, Keisha, and then Bobby, you can stay in.
So my name is Keisha Gaines. I live here in Pensacola. My question, besides the fact that I want to say I'm looking to do some relationship building.
Okay.
So I'll contact the bank and we'll see how we can work that out. But my question is there a stigma that, in reference to the Black banking, that there is not enough of the African American culture to sustain the funds coming into the bank from the African American?
And that is a very good question because that's something that we have had some discussions about.
I'm sorry, repeat the question. So
The question was, is there enough resources in the African American community to sustain growing African American banks? And that has been a challenge. That's one of the things that, I would say at Commonwealth, just in the Mobile market, we have about 1% of the Black population as customers. We've got to work to grow that number. But the question, I guess, is more about the resources within the African American community. I believe the resources are there. It's just the concentration and the decisions on where to put those resources. We have reached out to a lot of the athletes. The challenge with the athletes is they have a lot of money coming in, but that money is typically controlled by their managers, and the managers typically don't look like us. So they direct those funds to the people that they know and the investors that they know. So the resources are there. We just got to work it's got to be a mindset. We've got to have a mindset that we want to work together. We want to see those businesses grow because, people come to us a lot of times for donations. Churches, we are experts in the church lending business, by the way. But, the greatest transference of wealth happens typically on Monday morning. You make your contribution into your church, they make your deposit into the majority bank. I tell people over in Mobile, they're making those deposits into like a Regions bank, and I'm not going to put Regions down because they did help us out with a little investment. But they make those deposits in the Regions bank. Regions is headquartered in Birmingham. They're going to support the community that they are located. And so that's why the football teams up in Birmingham typically beat up on the ones down in Mobile. Because they got the big college campuses up there.
Bobby? Thank you. I had two questions. One is that, I've, years ago worked in, I guess the banking industry with the credit union. And what I know as a loan officer manager, I realized that you can have a different class of people. You can have one class that's usually upper class, Caucasian, what have you. Then you have the African American that can come in for a loan, and the credentials are identically the same as far as their income and paying back stability, what have you. But what I noticed is that on this hand, these people will get the loan, but the African Americans will not get the loan. And this is, I was amazed to see how that had been going on for years, that you have the same credentials, but I'm not able to get your loan because of the skin color, what have you. So what I like that you said is that Commonwealth, you get to know the people that are coming in and working with them. And I like the idea that, someone may say, well, my check is coming in and it should have been here, but it wasn't. Can you advance me? And you're saying that your bank does that. Is that what I heard you say?
If we have that relationship, we know the customer, got a long-term deposit relationship, we have made those exceptions.
So
We
let's
do it a lot.
and just repeat her first question to make sure that we're turning back to the still question there.
Okay, the first question.
That you could have two people who look the same on paper,
Same
but
person
on paper, but one is white, one is black, the white person appears, the black person does not appear.
And so that is a challenge that a lot of people have had. And that's one of the reasons that, black-owned banks were created, and diverse banks were created, because the people in those different races were not able to get access to credit and capital from the majority banks that were available in those times. That's not an issue at Commonwealth. At Commonwealth, again, most 95% of our customers are African Americans. We make our loans to African Americans. We try to support our businesses in the African American community. As a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, we are required to do at least 60% of our loans within our target market in our African American community. So we were created to serve the African American community, and that is where our focus is. But again, it banks for all people. We don't turn away anyone based on the color of the skin.
Okay, the second question is.
Let me go, we got two more, so we want to make sure.
Okay, it was just that, is there another bank, Commonwealth, that's here just in Florida?
Keep talking from when you say from your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. Is there another black-owned bank?
Jersey, Maryland.
Let's see, One United Bank is in Miami. That is the only African American owned bank in Florida. But they have a small presence down there. As part of Commonwealth's vision and their strategic plan, we are looking to come down the Gulf Coast, with Pensacola being our next target, making our way on down to Tampa. And my chairman likes Miami for some reason. He still wants to go on down there.
All right, Geraldine, can you stand up?
Yes.
And then we'll.
So I'm Geraldine. Mr. King, can you speak on your relationship with the colleges? And
Okay.
you go.
So financial education is critical. Financial education is key. I have spoken at some of the colleges. I spoke over at University of South Alabama recently for their business group and talked to them about the bank. But being able to go out and share with the colleges, with the students, giving them exposure of our bank, has been beneficial. But I think we will develop better relationships because there are a lot of colleges that they don't teach financial education. And I don't call it financial literacy because that implies illiteracy. But financial education is something that everybody can use. And so we offer financial education classes. If you want to hold something over here, some of the churches, we'd be happy to come over and share, talk about money matters, money management, credit risk, or how to properly use credit, because credit is not a bad thing, but if you use it the wrong way, it's not a good thing. We don't want to get you in debt. We want to help you with this, help you advance and go this situation.
Rachel?
Yes, sir. I opened my savings account 2 years ago at Commonwealth. I've been more than pleased with the St. Stephen's location and the So my question is, how many employees do you have? I'm going to use some rapid fire questions. How many employees do you have, and have you already decided when you're going to open in Pensacola? Is there a certain number of customers or a certain dollar amount of total deposits that would, be the impetus to open?
And Dr. Reginald Parker has $1.2 million himself.
I'm not even a doctor, they look at
Don't let him fool you. Don't let him fool you. Repeat the question.
So is there a target number of customers or a target number of deposits before you elect to open a Pensacola, and how many employees do you have right now? Because all the ones out there are fabulous, the facilities are great, so I'm the guy that keeps coming over and telling them to tell you to come open over here.
So at this point, we have 19 employees. We just hired a new accounting manager, so that was a void. I have on board my future CEO, my CFO, CCO, Chief Credit Officer, is right there, and my COO, Chief Operating Officer. So I'm grooming these individuals that are younger folk that are going to be in a position to keep the bank moving forward for the next 20 years. I'll sit back in semi-retirement because they're not going to let me go away too soon, but my wife and I are going to be doing a little traveling, so I'll have a little board meeting from the beaches. But I will be there to support. So as far as the plans for Pensacola, the way that we got it planned, we want to develop, the biggest challenge that most businesses are looking for is lending. So, we would love to have the deposits, but it may not be as convenient. But we're looking at lending opportunities, so we'll come over, basically work on supporting some of the lending opportunities from Mobile. So it's 45 minute ride. As we develop loan, and I say if we could get, if we generated about $5 million in loans, I think I can then justify loan production loans. So at that point, we bring over an individual that is dedicated to Pensacola, and maybe in a place like this, we can start with an incubator loan. So we start with loan production office. As we develop and grow that loan production office, to see more lending opportunities coming in, and see some deposit opportunities. You can put some of your idle funds over at the bank, and some of the operating funds, because most people today, they never go into the bank. The check is automatically deposited in the bank. They use their debit card or ATM card to get cash and pay purchases. They set up things and make payments online, so they really never go into the bank. And then you can take a picture of the check and deposit it into your account. So we can have those deposit relationships, but as we start seeing that grow, then we see the opportunity to put a full-fledged banking branch here. So it's a process that we will go through, and it's got to be cost justified.
And so my last question would be, based on my research with the FDIC, what happens to most black-owned credit unions or banks is they have more than enough money. They simply aren't making enough loans. So is there a particular type of loan you're looking for, particularly is it car loans, mortgages, or the up to $750,000 commercial loan?
The commercial loans are more ideal. We like to see, as I mentioned earlier, we're experts in the church lending business. Churches borrow money and they pay money back. Owner-occupied commercial, businesses that have their business, their buildings that they're financing, businesses that are, receivable financing. As I mentioned before, contractors, we're looking to develop some programs with contractors to help them grow their businesses and grow their capacity. So we're looking at all types of lending opportunities. Consumer loans are an important part also, but mostly we're focusing will be on the commercial side. That's where the real opportunities are.
So I get 5 people to build 5 buildings for $1 million. I'm just saying. All right, we're gonna end with no more questions. Walter Wallace here.
Yes, I do have a question. I'd like to comment. When you spoke about investment in bank business growing, I tell you what, in Pensacola, I had a conversation about a month ago with a young lady. Her job is to bring minority countries. But I spoke talked to a young man that got a minority business, and I found out he was affected by growing. He said, well, they got already a system set up. I went out to the city, county, and these people already white, they already there. But I told him, I said, well, they'll never know that you want to do business unless you go. And I asked him a question. If you want to stand 25 minutes now, with your name on that van, he's reluctant, but and you saying about sustaining. Now look at what you're talking about in party. Now that young individual look for 25 years down the road, I mean, it's like, and the same, another thing, when you speak about, I always said to churches, you take 10 churches without a father. Money going up, I'm gonna bring you $50 million, $50,000 down here. But this is where you got to stimulate. This is where you got to live. So, as you said, when we got our home coming to you and everybody else, as collectively, we have a problem.
And, you know, something you pointed out there, you brought up there about, you know, opportunities that are presenting themselves. By the time, most of the time, when we find out about them, the players are already in place. You know, so they've already been filled. And that's why chamber membership is important. You know, being involved in the chamber, they find out things that are happening in the community. They find out things that are going in the community early on and help you to get prepared. You know, I've been advocating over and over. When you were there at the meeting, I advocated that these businesses get ready for this airport project. You know, they're doing things, they're growing things in that community. With this airport project, you're going to need not just contractors, not just people, you know, brick and mortar, hammering and nails. You're going to need transportation. You're going to need food trucks to feed the people while they're going out there. You're going to need daycare for some of the workers. You know, there are auxiliary businesses that can be developed for these projects when you know about them and you get yourself in position. You know, the challenge that a lot of businesses have is when we find out about the opportunities, it's over. They've already got the players in place and there's no room for you. We got to get an earlier access to those. And again, that's what chamber membership does. So if you're not part of the Gulf Coast Majority Chamber of Commerce, you need to become a part of the Chamber of Commerce. And support that.
Say that you get some beans. You get those beans. There you go. Please join me again in thanking Cindy King. So, you know, we're going to give away some money. There won't be $5 million, but there will be how much? 50. We're gonna have me pull, Cindy. Don't let me hold it, baby. I made it. I don't need no new shoes, but I'm just saying. Have me pull. We have $50 here. This is for the 50-50.
One on the bottom, I'm reaching all the way down here, pulling it out. And drum roll, please. And the number is 392-46-30.
Amen. I think it was in your time, so you have time.
Over here. The other half of that donation goes to Truth and Youth Building. That's right. With money to build.
Thanks so kind.
Over here, Mr. White said, don't take $50.
Then I lose slow.
Anonymous. I think they want me to open the box too. Oh, this is from the Ellen TV show. It's a Be Kind package. I think there's some signed things in there too.
And the winner.
You must be present to win. Y'all know me, got
The winner is Diana Contreras.
Come back up here, because our donor wanted to be anonymous, and we really do appreciate him or her.
Come out.
Oh, you're in. And there you go.
You should change that verbiage, you should say.
No, that's her.
All right, well, thank y'all so much. We asked you to, number one, meet each other, meet Sydney, King here, Mr. White. Mr. White, what's your first name? White here, and meet each other, continue to network, and we gotta go home, but you know, we gotta get out of here. So. Y'all have a safe night.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
That was fun. Where did you
I don't know when
And I didn't recognize you. When I didn't recognize you, and then I was thinking about the so I came into Mr. Arnold's to talk to and then he said, yeah, she was like so-and-so. Because he stood out doing however, he sent me a bracelet. How I can get what I do. And I know this girl had showed data, but it seemed like it wasn't consistent. So I want to talk about what we can do and see if I can partner with someone like Harriet to do something. But when I met you, I was just actually I had written a heavy amount to find a place, and I found I was getting settled. So I'm not even 2 months back. So now that I'm falling into my business and everything, I definitely want to get with you. Like, what are your hours? You know, I got it. That's how I feel like mine, right? You must never be. Yeah, that's how I feel. I called coming in next month. I want to come in and see, you know, feel out what you're trying to get. Because I don't have to, I make my patients and that's something that I really okay, all right, fair enough. Definitely. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, John?
I know. One, and this is what I you may have it, you may not have it. I was just so overwhelmed that I did not know properly. So she, I'm going to do stuff on her and then
thinking is that the college she doesn't get excited about it. She doesn't.
Right. Right.
That's what excited about we have to figure out how that shape is. So I can figure
Right. Right. Right.
At the time you want. Right. But that was right. And see, like I told her, it's not wrong.
Right.
To be selling for shit I said, you know, I said, is your mom here for what? And she said, no, not that I know of. So I said, I said, so why do you think your mom is she doesn't? That is a great example. And you not be trying to follow. She said, I said, because
What should not have happened?
I said, this is a disaster. Because I was getting called that. There was not much.
Right. Right. I didn't know. And I
to be able to access certain things that we couldn't even do because they all use the same method. All the things you gotta do is make them feel alive.
And I let them talk. I was told right up what's happening. And why not? And all bills, the head, and she tried.
It's just that you don't this game is these boys lack all emotional control. They need to make it you know they so there's a big you cannot under no circumstances should be created and then you think
That they are hard. But she makes friends at this time.
Because she did